Folks, join me in welcoming our guest tonight as we talk Baylor football. Coach Mason Miller, first-year offensive line coach here at Baylor. Welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here.
Yes,
we
sir.
really appreciate it. First off, your background, you were at Tarleton a couple of stints, and as recently as last year, you were the offensive coordinator at Tarleton, who we played in the first game this year. What was that like?
Quite ironic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The weird thing was I spent more time looking at the defense, which was kind of like practice, and I never got to watch the offensive kids play, which I coach. So I kind of like missed that whole thing. So the next day I went in and actually watched the film because I was like, I don't know who did what.
That's funny. Yeah.
So, a bunch of great kids. I know they'll have a great season under Coach Witten.
Most people really don't understand that concept. Like your position, you're watching the defense almost exclusively, right? You don't even look at the offense of your opponent.
Generally don't look up, don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Kind of you're over there in your little, your nook, if you will, with your iPad now, which is a whole different world.
Right.
And so you're going over stuff and you're correcting stuff, and then somebody's like, punt return ready, and you're like, oh, we got to go. You don't know the flow of the game.
Yeah.
So it's been an awesome learning experience how to do that, see all that stuff, but at the same time, like, you don't have the feel of the game like you used to.
Yeah. And your background, other stops, at one point a head coach at McMurray, and we're with Mike Leach a couple of places, right?
Yes, Washington State and Mississippi State. Coach Leach.
Yeah. I bet that was interesting.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Absolutely. I know Tech played Washington State maybe a couple of weeks ago.
They did.
And sort of honored, Coach Leach.
Yeah,
at
they
that
put
game.
him in the Wazoo Hall of Fame.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So, and then you go back to working with Hal Mummy, right, at where, Valdosta?
Well, I started playing for Coach Mummy at Valdosta State, where Coach Leach was the offensive line coach, ironically.
Huh.
And I was always around him, being the fullback. They didn't let me carry the ball. They just kind of had me be around the offensive line, so that's kind of how I got into coaching the offensive line.
Gotcha.
Because I knew where everybody's supposed to be. But Coach Mummy I was with at New Mexico State, Southeastern Louisiana, and McMurray. And then when he left, I took over as the head coach for 1 year and then went to Tarleton.
I got you. Okay.
Yep.
So what was that staff? Who all was on that staff at Valdosta State?
Oh, goodness. Dana Holgerson, Mike Leach, obviously Coach Mummy, and then Chris Hatcher, who is now the head coach at Samford University. But the staff that Hatch brought in was a guy named Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp. I mean, so that kind of the cradle of coaches down there in South Georgia.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
That's great. Great experience, obviously, for you.
Yeah, I loved it. Loved my time there. Obviously, I always joke, I wish I'd have known those guys would have been – we're going to be famous. I'd have paid a little bit more attention as a player. But really cool to learn everything and then see everything kind of transition. Coach Mummy going to the SEC and then Coach Leach spurring off to Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and then all the success that he's had and what Coach Mummy did for the sport and all that's been really cool. Really nice to be a part of, and I owe them everything that I learned in football.
Man, that's great. I always think about Coach Mummy way back. He was the high school coach at Copper's Cove, which is just down the road here.
Yeah, no, I mean I kind of feel like I've known where Copper's Cove was my entire life because I'd hear the stories. Ironically, when we were at Southeastern Louisiana, he threw a set of keys at me and says, "Go recruit Texas," and I was like, "I've never been west of the Mississippi. Like, what are we doing?" Sent me to see Johnny Tusa at Waco High School, Jack Welch at Copper's Cove, like all these coaches that had worked for him.
Wow.
And so they would kind of point out where I needed to go, and hey, I didn't know anything. I'd just drive up and down 35 here and make stops. So actually ate here a few times.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, no,
That's
this is kind
great.
of full circle for me here.
That's great. That's a pretty good story. Tell us about your line, the offensive line, and it is a lot of young guys for the most part. I mean, relatively young guys that are doing really well for you.
They're competing. I think the biggest thing is they've gotten some growth. I think when I walked in the room, there was this eagerness to learn and develop, which I think is really what college football is all about. Part of the problem with being an offensive lineman, they're so large and everybody thinks, well, they're the biggest guy out there. They should be able to know everything is moving at a rate of speed. And sometimes it's like watching a deer on ice. They're trying to figure out their bodies, how they control it, and then they start settling down. The game slows down for them. And I think what's happening now week after week is the game is starting to slow down for them. And we're not having to correct the things that we were having to correct 4 weeks ago. Now we can move on to other things. And so I'm really proud of those guys, and they bought in. And really their eagerness to bring themselves up and compete at a better level.
And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you've got some pretty good depth there also.
We do. We made a big effort to go out and recruit. I felt like I was drinking water out of a fire hose the first couple of months I was here, learning the kids, I knew the offense because Spav and I have known each other for years, and so that was the easy part. And then getting some players and some depth, and then at the same time installing the fundamentals that we want to help them succeed.
Yeah. So the connection that led you here, again, at Tarleton last year, was it Coach Spavital? Was it Coach Aranda? What was that?
So, ironically, Spav and I have known each other for, a long time.
Yeah.
So back when I was at McMurray, so 10, 15 years ago. And obviously through Coach Holgerson, I want to keep calling him Dana. Well, I'm going to call him Dana. So Dana's, knowing Dana, him working for Dana, and then obviously Coach Mummy's relationship with Dana and all those guys, Coach Sumlin. So at any rate, we got to know each other, kind of that family circle, and then kept in touch when he was at Texas State. I was at Wazoo. We 2 ships passing the night, always talking to each other. And then one day my phone rings, and he said, "Get in the car." And I said, "Okay." So here we are.
Wow, how about that? I'm always intrigued by the connections. I mean, you guys are all sort of interwoven. You know so-and-so from way back who knows so-and-so.
Right.
And it's great. It's a really great fraternity.
No, it is. It's really cool. You get with a good group of people and people you enjoy being around every day. And then obviously with Coach Aranda, him having worked for Coach Leach so long ago, he was a GA, when I came, he was like, "You got any questions?" Like, "No, I kind of feel like I know you and Dion because Leach would talk about you all the time." So I thought that was kind of like a weird moment that the whole thing had come together. So,
and for those of you who don't know, Dion is Dion Aranda, Coach Aranda's wife. And with Spavital and this offense, Baylor changing to this offense this year, you know it. I mean, there was, I guess, pretty short on-ramp to you being the offensive line coach in this offense.
It was a short on-ramp. What everybody's got different names for different things. And so for the first couple of days, you're converting in your head what you called it and what we call it here. So you're like, all right, that's this is that. Yeah. So, and then obviously working out the fundamentals of how to do things and, the mechanics of it, everything. So
nice.
It's been fun. We've enjoyed it.
Very good.
Get it going.
Very good. All right. Welcome back on the Baylor Coaches Show, presented by Central National Bank, live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, continuing with Baylor offensive line coach Mason Miller. We'll get questions from the audience coming up in just a moment, Coach, but got to ask you, coming off the Colorado game on Saturday, disappointing gut punch of a loss, but gosh, you guys did a lot of good things in that game. I was, even in the loss, I was encouraged about the way the team continues to grow.
Well, I think the one thing that you do see, other than the fact that we didn't win the game and accomplish the most important thing, we saw people not surrender. That's a big thing. If you got kids that are always buying in, always wanting to compete and not surrendering, and obviously, a guy knocks you down, you get back up, and you knock him down, he gets back up. I mean, that's the testament of character, right? And that's what we're trying to strive for here, right? Don't give up. You never know what's going to happen. Obviously, it didn't turn out our way, but they made a play and we didn't, and that's kind of the way the ball bounces sometimes.
So the follow-up question is, how have your guys responded this week?
This has kind of been an energetic week because the kids kind of feel like this is what it took to get to that point. Yeah. Let's try to push it a little bit further. Let's see how much further we can push this thing, right? So that's been really encouraging. Yeah, we didn't like it. It wasn't cool. We didn't win. That's the ultimate goal. But you can't let one turn into two. And so that's kind of the motto right now.
And playing BYU this week, a really good team that's playing really well, 4-0, moved into the top 25 this week. I mean, that kind of helps you snap back into moving forward.
I think anytime you play college football, you got to be ready to play. It's so hard to win football games, and that's especially at the collegiate level, at any level. But it's hard to win football games in the FBS level. So you got a great opponent. Coach has done a great job over there, and I keep wanting to call him Kalani. So Kalani's done a great job. He's really getting after it, and got a great program, always has, developed it. And so we're looking forward to the opportunity to compete with them.
Yeah. I asked you this during the break. BYU typically has some older guys.
They do.
More mature, and there's a plus to that. Is that the case this year?
Oh, yeah. They've got some seasoned guys, and I think that they're going to bring some sort of physicality to it, and we just got to match that. And I think that's one of the things that we're trying to instill right now especially in the O-line room, is just getting downhill, hitting people in the mouth and running your feet on contact.
Yeah. What's their defensive front look like?
They're really kind of based out of a 3-3 stack, three-man front. They're going to try to get into a 4-man front. They're going to be multiple. Third down, I'll tell you when I get to the stadium what they're going to run on third down, because he's done a really good job of mixing it up week to week. So, again, they're down front's pretty good. They're not pretty good. They're really good. But again, they're physical, and we got to match that.
Good, very good. All right, good challenge this week. Baylor and BYU, the all-time series is 2 wins apiece. We've had some memorable games against them, a couple in the 80s and a couple just 2 years ago and 3 years ago. So not a long series between these two, but I think a really good building rivalry as BYU's now in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm kind of excited about it. I've never played the Blue Cougars, so there's 3 types. There's the Crimson Cougars, there's the Blue Cougars, and then there's the Red Cougars down south. So right. I'm really looking forward to it. I know they're a great program, and Coach Edwards, and kind of where this whole air raid thing came from was Coach Lavelle Edwards back in the day.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, going way back, that's true. Yeah, very good. All right, we got some questions from the audience. You okay with taking these?
Sure.
All right, very good. John, Roy's right here. He says, you've talked about part of this, but tell us about your family and where you're from and the college you attended.
Okay, well, my family is my wife, Megan, my daughter, Madison, and Mallory. They're actually here with us. They wanted to see Dad talk, which is ironic because they don't ever hear me talk at home. I'm pretty quiet when I get there. I am from Marietta, Georgia. It's Marietta if you're from there, just north of Atlanta, which has now been engulfed by Atlanta. Waco kind of reminds me of Marietta when I was growing up. A city, things to do, fields everywhere, good football.
Nice.
And then I attended Valdosta State University in South Georgia. I got a degree in history.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
I was a history teacher. My youngest daughter was she was doing a constitutional quiz the other day, and I was answering the question. She's like, "How do you know this?" And I was like, "Because I taught it."
Pretty good background there.
Yeah,
That's great.
So, yeah.
All right, very good. And Valdosta State was the school. Fullback.
The Valdosta State University.
The Valdosta.
That's right.
How'd you say it? Marietta?
Marietta.
Not Marietta.
No, it's Marietta if you're from there.
Okay. I'll remember that. Marietta. Another question from John Jackson. John is right back over there. What is the most difficult thing to teach/coach with offensive linemen?
Ooh, how much time you got?
All right.
I would say the biggest thing to teach, the hardest thing to teach is pad level. They're big guys, bending, staying low, running your feet on contact, and then using your hands, right? So your feet are moving. You get the feet. Everything's got to start from the ground up, right? How your stance, how they move, don't take too big of strides, etc. The next phase of it is putting hands on people because, you got to do that to block them. So I think right now we are kind of in the phase of we got to put hands on people, reach out and touch somebody, be AT&T, So, you got to do all those things, and I think that's been the challenge if you're not used to doing it.
Very good. Good question, John. Thanks, Coach. Good answer. This is from, I'm not sure who. Oh, it's from Diane and Steve Van Wagner right here. If you haven't already discussed it, would like to hear more about that 101-yard touchdown run.
I'm going to be honest with you. I heard it. I felt it breeze by me. I didn't know that it was going on. I looked up in the scoreboard and we had scored.
Yeah.
So, obviously, saw it the next day. We were getting ready to go out because we were receiving, and you're getting your guys ready, you're talking to them, and all of a sudden the thing goes by you and everybody's screaming and yelling, the sidelines erupting. So obviously very happy. It was pretty cool to see, and nowadays you don't get to see that often. So that was pretty awesome.
That's right. I don't think anybody touched him either.
No.
That was cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did, Jamal Bell. So that was terrific. And how much of a plus is that when you get points on special teams?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. We were talking about it the other day. I think we only had 65 plays on offense, and then we forget that we lost a whole series, right? So
yeah.
you kind of, which is great. We got 3 points out of it. It was awesome for us, but it's always good when you get a kick return in somebody else's backyard, too.
Yeah, very cool. All right, another question. This is the one. I'm not sure who it's from. I'm sorry. But how have the older transfer O-linemen adapted and fit in?
That's a great question. I think one of the things, especially with Sydney, Colin came in late, kind of knew their situation and wanted to compete for a starting job. Still are competing. Nothing's set in stone. But Colin is, helping out in other ways because he's older, and so he knows this kind of grind, and he's helping the younger kids develop. Sydney's competing every day, trying to learn something new. Colton Thompson done a really good job. So glad we have all of them. And then Kamari is just, again, coming in late, probably not there yet, but has added depth. All four of them have added depth to the room, have elevated the room, and helped us, get a little bit better every week.
Good. All right, the other side of that is, are there some young guys that are here that you work with that maybe haven't played yet and might not play this year, but you see them kind of developing?
Yeah, I think that's the thing I'm most excited about is the young talent in the room. I mean, obviously, like Caden and Big A, Alvin, and that's what I call him, Big A, and Colton, they're sophomores, right? But the guys right underneath that layer, like Stump, who's Colton Siraki. I call him Stump because the big Siraki is a lot taller.
Right.
Sean Thompson from Georgia. I knew him when I was at Mississippi State. We kind of looked at him, recruited him a little bit. Those guys are doing a really good job. And, like Wes Tucker, we had a good-on-good competition today. Wes snuck in there, didn't even see it. Passes off a twist, and I'm like, hey, this, those are things that kind of get you excited, put a smile on your face.
That's great. And things really only you and maybe the other offensive coaches see on tape.
Yeah, no, like I didn't even notice he was in there until we watched the film because he had snuck in.
Really?
And you're watching all five guys go, and you're not paying attention to what number, right? I'm looking at the left tackle and seeing the twist, and then get on the film, and I'm like, how'd you sneak in there? It's like one of those deals. So it was pretty cool. Didn't even faze him. He just jumped right in.
Wow.
Somebody needed a break. He just ran right in. So that's what you like to see.
Right. Very good. And welcome back from Rudy's, our Baylor Coaches Show tonight, presented by Central National Bank. We appreciate Coach Mason Miller pinch hitting for Coach Aranda tonight. Coach Aranda had a prior commitment tonight, and he will be back the Wednesday before our next home game. So we look forward to that, but we really do appreciate you being here with us tonight. As we look at BYU, older team, veteran team, they scored on offense, on defense, and on special teams last week as they just pummeled Kansas State. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, looking at the film, you on the defense, looking at their defense, and you see the scoreboard start jumping. So I don't know what happened outside of that. I just know that they're going to compete. They're going to play hard. All those things that a good, solid football team does. And, we got to match that. We got to come out, put our best foot forward. Would love it if the stadium's packed. Let's create some noise, make Waco wild, and let's have a good game on Saturday.
That's where I was going. Home game, hopefully very much in your favor on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to be hot.
Right. Needs to be hot. That would work in our favor. And what about, final question, you guys are practicing mornings now.
Yeah.
And finally we get a morning kickoff after a lot of night games. Could that be a plus for you?
I just think the kids are in a routine, and they get going on a certain day. Those night games are what they are, but we also have a lot of rest leading up to that, so they kind of flip the script. So either or. For me personally, it's just I hate sitting around all day. I just say, put the ball down, let's go.
Right.
So let's get up and go.
Very good. 11 a.m. kickoff.
That's right.
Coach, thanks for being with us.
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.